Hey everyone, welcome to the Keep Watching podcast, where we decide what to watch so you don't have to. I'm James.
And I'm Sarah.
And today we're going to be talking about Food Wars. How are you doing today, Sarah?
Doing pretty good. I got some standing legs for my desk though, so I had to dismantle it and put it back together, and all of my cables are a mess, and so my brain is also a mess. It's my struggle for the day.
That's so funny. I can't believe a story about cables.
Well, I mean, I have a plan. I'm going to fix it all, but...
No, I mean, do I have a story about cables?
Oh, you have a story about cables?
Cable adjacent, I guess.
Okay, well, I would love to hear it. Please help me.
So, I messed up.
Okay.
I made a mistake that, could have delayed this podcast.
All right.
At least this one, maybe longer.
Oh.
So I was playing video games with my cousin, and we were in the middle of a game, and then I'm going to try to replicate the noise that happened in real life. You ready for this?
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
And my computer went off when that happened. No. So I go over and check it out. It's smelling like burnt plastic a little bit.
Oh.
Do you think you know what happened at this point? Has this ever happened to you before?
I mean, I did have a router once that I guess caught on fire internally for a little bit and then died, but this sounds like you did something, so I don't think it's that.
So yeah, I open up the thing and I start looking around, and I'm noticing that the power supply is like extremely hot, like insanely hot. This was yesterday, by the way.
Okay.
And the computer's not turning back on, and this is the computer I podcast on. So I take out the power supply, and it's like really hot. So it's like hard to even hold it, but there's like something loose in it, and then like pieces of plastic are like falling out of like the fan area.
Oh no.
So I don't know that much about computers, but I guess I know enough that I'm just like, okay, I think the power supply is broken. So I know we have like a podcast the next day, so I go on Amazon and I like put the serial number in, and it doesn't bring up the same one, but it brings up one that pretty much looks exactly the same.
Okay.
So I'm just like, okay, I order it, and it's supposed to get here like same day, but it doesn't get here same day. But fortunately, it got here this morning, so I was able to install it. But I did a little like searching on the internet for like before I ordered to like see like, oh, what happened here.
Yeah.
And I found a video. Oh, I actually looked up a video just like how to install the new one.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy was like, it's kind of explaining that you probably don't want to keep your PC on the floor.
Oh.
Do you keep your PC on the floor, Sarah?
Yes, I keep mine on the floor.
Well, I think it can be okay to keep your PC on the floor, except if you have carpet.
Oh.
Which I do.
I also have carpet.
Okay.
Now I'm concerned.
Okay, well, this is good. My mistakes will hopefully help some people. But also, in addition to that, if your power supply is on the bottom of your computer with the fan pointing down.
Oh yeah, that would be a problem.
Then you really, really, really don't want to have your PC on the floor with carpet with your.
But you've had this for a while, and it's been on the floor with carpet for a while.
Yeah. At first, I thought maybe my power supply was like just old.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because some people were like, oh, 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's been at least 5 years for my power supply, but I'm pretty sure this is just me being an idiot. That this happened.
But you said bits of plastic fell out of it.
Well, it caused an explosion within the power supply that caused plastic to break.
Okay, that was the part I was missing.
Yeah. Did you hear the noise I made? That's the noise that happened. Maybe that noise didn't come through the mic. I don't know.
I don't think it came through Discord quite.
Oh my god.
The full extent.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so I wasn't able to install it till like 7 o'clock, and I was done at like 8. And fortunately, the PC turned back on. It's okay. But up until like 2 hours ago, I didn't have a computer for this podcast.
So now, here's the important question. Is your PC still on the floor?
No.
Okay.
It's on a chair with no
nice
like padding on it at all, so it should be good.
I'm not gonna worry about mine because my power supply's at the top, so I think I'm good.
Oh, okay, you're smart.
Here, I just thought like your wife was sick and needed you to help out or something.
I messaged you and I was like, there's a chance I won't be able to podcast tonight, but I didn't want to tell you the story because I wanted to tell you the story on the podcast.
Yes. Now everything is content. We're not allowed to talk unless we're recording anymore.
Yeah, exactly. All right. I'm glad we're here. Are you glad we're here, Sarah?
I am glad we're here.
All right, you say that
Yes.
now. You say that now. I don't know. I'm not sure. We're about to watch and talk about Food Wars, aka Shokugeki no Soma, which I believe is just the Food Wars of Soma is how
Oh,
that kind
because
of
that's the
translates.
kid's name. Got it.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
the main character's name is Soma.
Who is a child? I just feel like I need to emphasize that this kid is 15 years old.
Is he 15? I thought they were like 13 or 14 in this show.
They said 15 in the very beginning, and a middle school student. I guess he's entering into high school. Anyway, we'll get to it.
Yeah. Usually when we talk about a show, we are going to try to talk about shows that are like available on popular platforms for streaming or for watching online, or are just like on a website that we know is like free or easy to watch on, something like that. No like sketchy sites that you have to go to.
Yes.
But unfortunately, I feel like Food Wars has been on Netflix for like, I don't know, a really long time because I've watched it like
Yes.
twice since it's been on there. But since we decided to watch it last week and now it is no longer on Netflix.
Not completely true. Season 1 isn't on there, but season 2 is on there, which is entirely unhelpful. But yeah, I got my viewing in right under the wire a few hours before they took the first season off of Netflix.
Yeah, I don't know how the licensing works for the show, but like you can get like now like only season 2 is on Netflix, and then like HBO has like the last 2 seasons, and then I think Hulu as of right now does have season 1, but it's like set to expire in 10 days. So
Jeez.
I don't know what's going on behind the scenes and who's gonna have Food Wars in the near future. But anybody who knows how to use the internet will be able to find this if they want to watch it. But we do not have a recommendation as to where to go watch it. Also, before we get into this, Sarah, do you think we should have a disclaimer for what we're about to talk about?
Couple disclaimers.
All right, you do your disclaimers.
I think first we should level set about how you and I feel about anime. We talked about it a little bit last week, but I have never really been a fan. I mean, I watched some Cowboy Bebop back in the day, a couple episodes of Sailor Moon, but like most of the very popular things have just rubbed me the wrong way. Like if there is mechs or swords that are too big or squeaky girl voice or just like a lot of yelling, it just like totally puts me off. So it's very hard for me to find any anime that I like.
Okay. Well, I did recommend you an anime that you did like, right?
Yes.
And how would you describe that anime?
Oh, that anime is just nothing happens in it, but in a good way.
It's a rom com.
I mean, a rom-com implies that like both of them are aware of their situation at some point, but I feel like the male lead is completely oblivious to everything the entire way through, and then it just kind of ends. But it was pleasant and enjoyable, and I mean there were some parts where it's like maybe if I just muted it and read the subtitles it would be okay. But for the most part there was not too much, just a lot of yelling.
So you have a problem with like voice acting in animes?
Yeah, that's probably true.
Okay, interesting.
And I don't know if the English dubs, maybe it's I feel like I've watched both. Like I've seen it with an English dub and I've seen it with the original voice acting, and I don't know. It's been questionable all around for me.
Okay. Well, now that you say that, I do not have high hopes for the rest of this podcast for your enjoyment level, but I think it's funny that I made you watch this.
Yeah, you definitely did some evil laughter when you first suggested it, and every time you talked about it since. You could tell that you were prepared to relish in, I'm going to say, my misery during watching this.
The first anime I recommended to you, I was like, okay, I legitimately think you'll like this. Like it's just a
Yes.
like wholesome rom-com kind of story between like two high school kids. But this is like jumping into the deep end without knowing how to swim a little bit, this one.
Yeah. So for the second warning, this anime is very not safe for work or the children who are in it, I would say. It's a lot of I don't know. The food makes people orgasm. I don't know how else to say it.
Oh man, you're getting too deep already.
It's one of those things that you need to know up front so you know what you're getting into, because if you I don't know, you don't want to watch it with your grandma. Or maybe you do. Maybe your grandma's chill. Who knows?
All right, let me hit you with some stuff I got off the wiki that kind of
Okay.
explains, or there's like terminology for what this is.
Okay, good. Because I have a lot of questions.
Okay. So I looked up the show Food Wars on the wiki, and it describes it as Japanese cooking,
Hmm.
comedy,
Okay.
slice of life,
Sure.
which slice of life is like I never heard this term outside of anime. It's just like, there's no like magic going on or whatever in the universe. It's just
It's
kind of
like
like,
everyday stuff happening. Yeah.
yeah, which is this is categorized as slice of life like the other anime that you like.
That feels like a mislabeling, perhaps, but
What?
okay.
It's definitely slice of life.
You say
Okay, fine. Okay, you tell me when it's not slice of life as we go through.
okay.
And etchy. Are you familiar with this term, etchy?
No, I'm not.
Okay. It's I looked this up on the wiki to see what they said, but it's a slang term in Japanese for playful sexual actions.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Okay.
That tracks.
Yeah, it's like an actual category in anime. I think this is probably like in a more extreme form of etchy, although like I guess I have seen other ones that are like trying to be even more etchy than this one's trying to be,
Mm.
you know?
Hmm.
Um but I find this one to be like it's funny to me. the the I don't know, we'll get into it. I think it's more comedy. It's all for comedic purposes in my opinion. So yeah, disclaimer: this show is it's a rated R anime, and on Netflix it just says it's rated R for nudity. That's what it says.
Like, I don't know, like the very important bits are covered, we'd
Yeah,
say. Like,
yeah,
you
yeah,
don't
yeah,
get any nipples. So, I don't know. It's
yeah.
an implied nudity at a certain point, I guess.
That's why I think it's funny. It's like it's not going all the way. Also, you briefly mentioned this. Do you have an issue with the age of the people that are in this show
Yes.
and what they're doing? You do, okay.
Well, I mean, we open on a scene. Can I start with how we open on the show?
No, not yet. No.
Okay. Then I'll talk about it when I get to it because there's just bits that I'm like, why is this what's happening?
Let me just equate this to the other things that people watch. You know,
Okay.
like you've watched adult themed live action shows that are centered around high school kids.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
But the actors in those shows are clearly not high school age.
Yes.
So you kind of just like ignore the fact that you're watching like supposedly like two underage kids like doing things with each other. Right?
Right.
Right.
Yes.
And I guess I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty confident that all the voice actors in this show are of age. And it's an animated show that's supposed to be ridiculous.
Yes.
So it's nobody nobody was like subjugated to actually having to be naked, like no real person.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So I will defend the show from from that standpoint.
And there's only like two parts where I actually am like, why is this the thing that's happening? And that is when there are not teenagers involved.
All right. I think we have enough disclaimers for what they're about to talk about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm ready, Jer. You want to start with the opening?
Okay. So it opens on, or at least the first thing I remember. I may be a bit foggy on some of the details, but it starts with there's this restaurant and there's this kid cooking with his dad and they're doing a competition, and it clearly has like little labels like says their names and their ages. So he's 15, his dad's 38, and they're cooking some, I think, fried rice dish. And the judge of this is a dressed in the stereotypical schoolgirl outfit like teenage girl. So here's the part where I'm like, why is this man competing with his son to make this teenager have all her clothes burst off because their food is
That's
too good? This is the part where I'm just like, the ages are a little sketch.
well, it's Soma's like classmate. They're the same age.
Yes, but the fact that his dad is the one that wins, he's the one that
Oh, okay.
induced the thing. Like it's just I don't know. It's also why
Okay. Okay.
why
I'm gonna
is this what
defend this.
happens to people when they eat? Is this what happens when you eat everywhere? Why would there be restaurants if anytime you ate very good food, your clothes popped off? Is it just a visual metaphor? I think so, maybe, except sometimes it seems like not.
All right.
I had a lot of thoughts about the show.
All right, good. Okay, even if you hate it, we'll at least be able to talk about it then. All right, I will address everything you just said, but let's go a little slower here.
Okay.
Before we even get in the restaurant, I think the first word so I watched the dubbed version of this, the English dubbed version. Is that what
Same.
you watched as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I wanted to ask you, did you watch this on your your Netflix account?
Yeah, for a minute I was like, maybe I just make a burner profile so this doesn't mess up my algorithm, but then I got lazy.
But what if you
So,
loved it?
well, then I
Then you
could
would have regretted
rewatch it and it would have been fine. Like,
Oh my god. Okay, but I'm pretty sure that, and I didn't ever notice this until I was like watching it to take notes, like for the podcast. I'm pretty sure the first word uttered in English on this show is disgusting, which is for a show about food is pretty funny. And Soma, our main character, who we're gonna highlight in this first episode. Oh, we didn't even say it. We're gonna be talking about the first 3 episodes of the show today.
yeah, I had to watch 3 episodes of this.
Animes are pretty fast though. Compared to we watched 2 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi and that took forever.
That's true.
The reason I chose 3 episodes is because I would say like we're gonna learn about Soma, who's like the main character of the show, and then the second episode and the third episode are kind of the introductions to two more of the I would say like the most main characters.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that is when it kind of like a lot of side characters start getting introduced like very very quickly, and it like the speed of the show like really ramps up after these first 3 episodes. So unfortunately, this is like I wouldn't say this is the best that Food Wars has to offer in these first 3 episodes. But at the end, I'll go through and just like highlight like some high level things that happen in season 1 just to show you how fast paced the show is. Yeah. So the show opens with the word disgusting. And Soma's like outside of the restaurant. He's like really happy with himself because he's making squid tentacles and peanut butter and he's like eating it and he's like, "Man, this is so disgusting." But he's like really really happy about it. But yeah, like you said, there's going to be a food battle between him and his dad, and Soma's high school friend is going to be the judge. And do you want to more specifically describe what happens to her when she eats the food?
There's a lot of shots of her thighs rubbing together and her face is flush and there's some squealy noises. I don't think her clothes pop off. That happens with somebody else later.
This is how I would describe these moments on the show. For the most part, it's like a metaphorical representation of like how good the food is to them, basically.
Except like, so most of the times when their clothes pop off, that's like a cutaway, like stereotypical anime, not the scene, you know, like
Yeah, like solid background. No, there's no background.
Yeah.
It's just like it's like an artistic representation of what they're going through, basically.
But with this scene, and usually like bookending those scenes in other parts, you do see like the thighs rubbing together and the like squirming around, like it is actually happening to a certain extent. Like the physical reaction to the food is sexual.
Maybe.
So I don't know where the line is.
Okay. Well, okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going.
All that is to say that I would not eat in restaurants if this is what happened everywhere.
If food was this good, though,
I mean,
how
you
could
can
you
order
resist?
in. You can order in.
Not from this the Yukihira restaurant that Soma and his dad work at.
Go get takeout.
So yeah, they're basically having like a food battle, and the girl's gonna rule that Soma's dad is the winner, and then
I will say that his dad has pretty good hair because that's how I judge people on this show. He's got good hair.
Oh, interesting. But we're gonna find out. His dad starts bragging, and he's like, "What is that? 500 losses in a row?" Soma. So his dad is like really ragging on him about apparently he's 500-0 in cooking battles against his son.
I think he comes back and he's like, no, it's only like 485. Calm down.
489 is the number I read. Yeah, so Soma is very defensive, and he's like, I've only lost 489 times. And this is like the first glimpse of like, I really like Soma on this show. He's a really cool main character to me. Like, no matter like how many times he's beaten or whatever, he like it just doesn't matter to him. He just like keeps plowing forward.
Yeah.
It's admirable. And then we get more customers reacting to the food. I guess this is kind of what you were talking about. Like they get to eat the food too, and they're a little like less like it seems like it's actually happening to them kind of thing.
Yes, yes.
But no clothes have been ripped off yet.
I mean, that part definitely happens
Oh, it
a
happened.
little later.
And then so Soma's like a little upset that he lost, but his friend came over, the one that judged the food, and she's like, "Oh, don't worry, yours was still really good. Your dad's is just like out of this world." So it's not that Soma's bad; it's just his dad is like insane, basically. And then because she was so nice to him,
Yeah,
he
she's
he
nice to
decides
him.
he decides that she will be a good test subject for his
Squid
disgusting food.
vengeance. Squid vengeance is what it is.
It's not really vengeance. Unless he's a little upset with her for not picking hers, but his or whatever. But
I guess.
yeah, so he's gonna feed her the squid peanut butter that he was making in the very beginning of the show.
I would like to read my notes that I wrote for
Yes.
this next part.
Do you want to describe what happens?
I'm just gonna read this note.
Okay.
We're 2 minutes and 52 seconds into this, and this girl is getting metaphorically raped by a squid. What have I gotten myself into?
Yeah. This is like the worst that the show is, I think, right here. I don't
So apparently bad food is a bad experience.
Oh, I guess. I don't know. So this becomes like a thing in the show that like Soma and his dad are like the only people that do this in the show that like they actually like try like what it is they like to like test the weirdest combinations of food, and
Mhm.
then when they end up being bad they actually kind of enjoy the fact that they like found something
Yeah.
that tastes so bad. And I think they get into a little bit of what his dad has made, and I don't think that has anything to do with squid, but Soma really focuses on mixing things with squid.
Yeah, all of his bad dishes are squid involved
Yeah,
in the episodes I've seen.
which causes people to eat it to be like metaphorically attacked by a squid,
Yes.
basically.
And then just like rock back and forth and mumble to themselves about how violated they feel by this dish.
Yeah, and so this is kind of like it's supposed to be funny because like stereotypical like anime or
Mhm.
like pornographic anime or whatever like will have tentacle monsters in them
Yes.
that do things to women, and this is supposed to be like making fun of that basically.
But it's like he's a terrible friend. Like she was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, you're getting better." And he's like, "Try this." Ha ha. It's just like, "Oh man, come on."
yeah, it's a very weird choice to start a show 3 minutes in.
Yes. But they wanted to be real straightforward about what you're buckling in for, I guess.
Yeah, the other thing about these like etchy animes is that like they are targeted to like 13-year-old boys or whatever,
Yeah.
and people like me who used to be 13-year-old boys, I guess. So yeah, him and his dad are going to be bragging about the nasty food that they've made, and then we get the intro song. Did you actually watch the like intro and the outro of the show?
Yes. It was fine.
It was okay. I was wondering if you had any notes or if you noticed anything. What happens a lot in these like intro outros of animes, mostly the intros, is that like they might change up the intro art and the song like every 12 episodes of the show if it like changes story arcs or whatever. And if you watch them, like you might actually get a little spoiled as to like what's going to happen. So there's a lot of characters in there that are going to come up, but they're like not going to be. You might see glimpses of them in these first 3 episodes, but they're not really going to
Mhm.
be like have lines or anything.
Right.
But there wasn't any characters that like stood out to you in the
I
intro.
might not have focused super
Okay.
hard on the intro. Like it was my moment to just collect myself
After the
before.
first 3 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we cut back to Soma in the restaurant, and he's like sitting there. He's like, this is our first look into like how meticulous like Soma is about his cooking, and he's like sitting there thinking while he's like cleaning up the restaurant. He's like, if I only had given the rice 3 more flips, I totally would have beaten my dad. Like that's the level of
Yeah.
precision that like is like the difference between him and his dad.
He is very serious
He's
about
very
this.
serious about it. And they're about to close shop for the night, but then a woman and 3 dudes come in the restaurant.
Oh my gosh. This was so dramatic.
This was
It was
very
very,
dramatic.
very dramatic.
Yeah, got it. She'll get serious quick.
I don't know. I feel like her shirt shrank during it. Maybe her skirt got a little higher at some point. It was She, like all anime women, was hot. I don't know.
Yeah, so the girl in the beginning is kind of like a young schoolgirl, like petite, I guess is what you would
Yeah.
call her.
Whereas this is an adult character, I assume.
I was trying to come up with like a funny term for the for like this show is gonna have a few characters like this woman, basically. Um, how would you describe this one?
Um, like physically, if she's
Yeah,
busty, yeah,
busty,
she's
I guess.
busty.
I thought we could use the term bodacious babe.
Oh yeah, yeah, she's definitely a bodacious babe. Yes.
Okay. I don't know really what bodacious means, but I think it works here.
Yeah, I agree. It works.
But right away, someone wants nothing to do with this woman.
Well, they clearly have a history.
Yeah, I don't know how long the history it is, but at least like one other time they have met.
Yeah.
It's
She's like
implied.
trying to shut down the restaurant and buy it so that way she can build a high rise or something.
Yeah, it was like a fancy hotel or something. But basically, Soma's dad is like right in the kitchen and he's hearing all this and he does not interfere at all. And like Soma is just like taking the lead on this conversation, even though he's
Yeah,
like a
I don't
15-year-old kid.
understand why this bodacious babe is negotiating with this child about buying this restaurant.
But this is kind of it's a little bit of a glimpse into the like relationship between Soma and his dad, where his dad just kind of like lets Soma like do his thing.
I would describe his dad as a bad dad.
Oh, yeah. That's fair.
The degree to which he lets him do his own thing, but that's for a later scene.
Yeah. So basically this woman is like she kind of like starts threatening the restaurant to a degree, and she gets Soma to kind of agree to these terms where Soma's bragging about how like they never like a customer never leaves the restaurant unsatisfied. So then she's like, "Oh, so if you were to leave, like make a customer unsatisfied, would you close up shop?" And someone's just like, "Yeah, we totally would."
Because, the random offhand shit a 15-year-old says is definitely a binding contract.
Yeah. Well, Soma's a boy of his word.
I guess.
So yeah, so she does leave the restaurant, but she leaves with this ominous feeling that of course she's got some scheme going on.
Of course.
And then we're gonna get a scene of Soma's like just like walking back home from school or something the next day.
Yeah, and he calls his dad, and his dad's like, bye forever. Or, no, I can't open the show. We're not opening the store today. I have to go help a friend. Bye. See you later. Just like,
Yeah.
go deal with yourself.
Yeah. Hey, Soma's dad's a big deal.
I guess, but like,
Someone can take care of himself.
I have noticed a theme in some of the recent anime that you've had me watch is that, like, whether it's just for plot's sake or whatever, like, parents just don't interfere with their teenagers' lives at all. It's just like, oh, go live in your own apartment and go to school. Don't care. Goodbye.
Yeah, I don't know how common that actually is. I like they're in middle school right now, so I think in middle school like you usually live with your parents, but I think to some degree like when you get into high school in Japan, it's kind of like college where like you're trying to get into like a certain high school. I don't think
Okay.
you're necessarily going to like go across the country to go to a different high school, but maybe. But I think that does lead sometimes to like high schoolers do live by themselves
Mm,
if they are like need to live somewhere else to more easily commute.
right. Okay.
I don't know how common it is, but a lot of the times the characters that will be in animes will be in this situation.
Yeah. It is awfully convenient for them to get up to whatever they need to get up to.
Yeah, someone's actually not in this situation, but his dad is just like, I need to
Not
go. See ya.
around.
Yeah, his dad doesn't really explain himself at all.
Yeah.
Um, so someone's gonna get back to the restaurant, and the restaurant has been totally ransacked.
Specifically, all the meat has been like just taken out of the fridge and destroyed, and all the food has gone bad.
Yeah, I don't actually think they took anything, and it was just like they destroyed all the food in the restaurant.
Yeah.
I guess you're right. It might not have been all the food in the restaurant, but the meat specifically was
Very
destroyed.
specifically.
And we're
the
gonna find
meat.
out why real fast.
Yes, because even though this place is not open, this woman comes back.
Yes. Yeah. As soon as someone gets back and sees that like the restaurant is destroyed, this woman shows up. And even though the restaurant wasn't even supposed to be open today, but the
Mhm.
woman is insistent and like kind of like calling him out and like for saying what he said before, like I'm a customer now, and you said you would like you could satisfy any customer, and then
She demands a meat dish.
oh, do you want to specifically describe?
I forget her exact words, but something along the lines of a big, thick, meaty dish is what she wants from this small child.
She says she wants a big, thick, juicy steak.
There we go.
Yeah, it's also a thing in these like etchy animes where like they're targeted to like 13-year-old boys. So like I think they go really heavy on this stuff
Yeah.
like in the first 8 to 10 episodes.
To get you hooked.
Yeah. And then most of them will lay off after that to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the nature of this show, like people are always eating food and reacting to how they're eating food.
Mm-hmm.
But it won't be. There are plenty of like old dudes who eat food in the show and react to eating food, like.
Yeah.
But that mostly happens later.
Mm.
Whereas right now we're gonna get a lot of bodacious babes eating food.
Front load it with the bodacious babes, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Soma does not hesitate here. He's just like, okay. Like he's seen how bad the restaurant is destroyed, but he's like, okay, I'll make you like I'll have your order right away. It's basically how he reacts.
He had some groceries for breakfast the next morning, so he improvises with some bacon. And there's like a semi-legit recipe in the middle of this show, which I was not expecting.
Oh, okay.
That goes
We'll
through
get to
step
that.
by
I'll
step.
explain. I'll explain. I'll explain the nature of the show when we get to that.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know if all the ingredients that he's about to use were like he was bringing them back from the store and that's why he had them, or if only the bacon is what he had.
Yeah, I think like they probably didn't go through the effort of destroying all the potatoes in the store or whatever. Like,
Yeah. So he has like potatoes, mushrooms, onions, seasoning, and bacon that he's going to be working with, basically. And do you want to describe how the show shows cooking? If you basically get like a montage of someone making
oh
this
yeah,
dish.
yeah. It's like the food is beautiful, and they're just like, "Ooh, look at how amazing the food is!" And it's I don't know, really close up shots of it glistening in whatever it's cooking in, and it's very proud of its food drawings. I'd say.
Yeah, the food looks good in this show, right? I'm not
Yeah.
crazy. Okay,
No,
good.
it looks good.
Okay, yeah. I don't know if like somebody was like, "Damn, I'm really good at drawing food," and they're like, "I need to make an entire like." Well, this was a manga. Like all animes are usually their mangas before their animes,
Mm.
but like they were like, "I'm gonna write an entire story so I can just draw a lot of food." I don't know if that was the order of events for the show. Yeah. So, but as someone's cooking, she's kind of like the woman is kind of like you can tell she's getting a little worried because she's like really confused because she's like, wait, this guy has no meat. How's he gonna like make me a thick, juicy steak?
Yeah, she thought he'd give up immediately.
Yeah.
So clearly, she knows nothing about him.
Yeah. So like yeah, so pretty quickly this montage ends and Soma has created a pork roast and the woman is like pork roast and she's like so confused and she's like skeptical and she's like angry and she's like yelling like how dare you try to like sell this as being a meat dish whatever.
But he goads her into trying it because he's all overconfident and snarky.
Does he explain the dish before she eats it the first time or
I think it's after.
he like goats her into trying it. Like, oh, if it's not a meat dish, why don't you taste it and tell me what you think, or like whatever. And yeah, she's gonna take a bite of this pork roast. Do you want to describe what happens with this woman eats the pork roast?
She enjoys the pork roast. It is much like the scene earlier. There is some thigh rubbing. She's flushed a little bit. I don't think it quite goes into full effect until after he explains it. Like I feel like it's a second bite puts her over the edge.
Yeah, so she takes the first bite, and this is basically the formula of the show, right? It's
Mhm.
like somebody makes a dish, somebody eats the dish, somebody reacts to the dish, and then like whoever made the dish will like explain what they made. I think the show is actually pretty accurate with like its culinary advice. Like I think there are like people out there that actually try to like replicate the dishes that people make in this show in this anime.
I have a feeling the effects are different.
Yeah, I'm sure the eating is different, but I think like the recipes that they're kind of like dishing out here are like
Hmm.
they're not giving like step by step like, oh, like this amount of this and this, cook it for this long. Sometimes
Just
they
like a
do.
general situation. They're like potatoes
Yeah.
and onions and
They get really deep into like the theory, and sometimes they get really deep into like the science behind like the they like to use the word umami, and
yes.
uh yeah, they get into like the chemical reactions of like that cause like flavor explosions and stuff. It's like it gets really deep, and I assume it's accurate, but maybe I'm just naive. I don't know.
I don't know. Did not try any of these recipes myself. By the second bite, she's over the edge and clothes pop off and her minions I guess also are eating it because their clothes pop off and they very much enjoyed the food.
Yeah, yeah. So this is the first time where like sometimes there's like an artistic description or like background that goes along with this, but I think in this one it's just like, oh, like their clothes have been like torn to shreds and they're like flying off their bodies. And like
Yes.
not only the woman, but like the three dudes also like can't
Hmm.
resist eating it and they eat it, and like we get them. They're naked, but they're like, yeah, covered up where they should be covered, that kind of thing.
And they're all screaming to some degree.
But this, like what you said before, it didn't actually happen in real life. It's supposed to be just like an extreme metaphorical experience that they're going through.
But again, the squirming and the thigh rubbing together and the flushness did happen in the quote unquote real world.
I guess you could look at it that way. The bottom line is the food is delicious.
Yes, he has defeated her.
Did you get hungry watching the show, Sarah?
I had actually just eaten right before, so
Oh, okay.
no.
Sometimes I get hungry watching the show, and I'm vegan, and they don't really make that many vegan dishes on the
Yeah.
show. I actually rewatched like almost entire season 1 this week in
Oh,
preparation,
jeez.
because I watched the first 2 episodes and I was like, well, I can't stop now. And there's like a point where they make like eggs Benedict or something. I don't even
Mm,
think Soma makes it. Somebody else makes it, and for whatever reason, I was just like, dang, I want like something really salty to eat right now. Like that's what
mm,
I thought
yeah.
when I watched it. Um, but before they eat it the second time though, when Soma is explaining the dish, he says something, and this is like a big characteristic of Soma,
Mm-hmm.
where he's like, "Oh, one time I made a mistake where I like let the juices from this meat dish like touch the like mashed potatoes on a plate."
It's like, first of all, that's like
That's like normal
eating
thing.
potatoes 101. I don't understand how this is a mistake, but sure.
Yeah, I guess with Howard, whenever they like prepare their dishes at this restaurant, like he wasn't supposed to do that, but it happened.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if he like replayed it or whatever, but he ended up tasting it, I guess, and he was like, "Wow, that's actually really good." I actually remember some of the signs they did. He basically like it's like potatoes, and then he like cut up mushrooms, and the mushrooms somehow like absorbed all like the flavor of the bacon, and then he prepared it in a way where it like the entire like potato wrapped in bacon thing like kind of like cuts like it's a entire meat
A
dish
roast
basically.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But basically like this challenge also is like, and this is like a kind of like a running thing in the show. It's like it's totally unfair. Like all this woman has to do is eat this pork roast and be like, that's nasty. And like she would win the bet between them, and like Soma would close up the restaurant. Like that's what would happen. But because it's so good, she like
Can't contain
yeah,
herself.
she like kind of tries to be like, oh, it's not good and it's not really a meat dish, so whatever. And then like Soma threatens to like he's like, okay, if you don't like it, I'll throw it in the trash. And then when he says that and he picks it up, she's like, no. And she basically like can't stop herself from admitting that it's like the best thing she's ever eaten in her life,
Hmm.
basically. And because of that, Soma saves the restaurant. Easy peasy.
Yay.
Yeah. And he's so nonchalant about it too. Like,
He's so confident all the time.
yes, he's so confident. I love Soma. He's great. And he's like, he immediately just gets to work like cleaning up the restaurant.
Hmm.
And then we're gonna get to the end of this episode where his dad comes home and he's like cleaning up the sign, and he's just like, oh, what happened here? And someone's like, we just had a couple rowdy customers. That's all. Like Soma did not explain his situation as much as his dad doesn't explain
They do
himself.
not communicate well.
Yeah, they're just two cool customers who don't want
Yeah,
to
they're way too
elaborate
cool.
on their story. Someone's like really happy he saved the restaurant. He's really looking forward to like he basically wants to run this restaurant when
Yeah.
he grows up. That's like his dream. And his dad just comes home and is like, "Hey, we're gonna have to close the restaurant."
for like 2 years.
for like 2 years. Yeah, and Soma's like just devastated.
And he won't tell him why. He's just like, no, I gotta go away and help a friend for a while. So, whatever. Bye. And I guess he enrolled him in this amazing cooking school.
Yeah,
And it's like, you're gonna go to school and get better. And then, 2 years will go by and whatever. It's fine.
yep, exactly. And then at the end of the show, we find out that the school that he's being sent to, his dad says there's a little bit of a inconsistency with this, but at the first, his dad says that like the graduation rate of this culinary school is like less than 10%, right?
Yeah, that just seems like a bad school. Not like a super competitive school.
But
Like, they're bad at teaching people.
well, I guess we don't get deep enough into it to really understand it, but I'll explain at the end. I'll explain the entire all of the questions you have. But I think in episode 2 we're gonna get into like a little more like talking about how hard it is to graduate, and I feel like they make it seem like it's like less than 1% at some point.
They make it seem like it's the Thunderdome. Like, it's
It is the
absurd.
Thunderdome. All right, so we're gonna get the closing. Did you pay attention to the closing song at all?
No. I mean, it played, but I paid attention to the part after the closing song.
Okay. All right, we won't talk about the closing song then if you didn't watch. It's basically like a lot of the same characters that are in the opening song, except like they're just like all naked the whole time.
Didn't even phase me at this point. Like,
Yeah, okay, see? At some point when you're watching the show, you just start watching it and accepting what it is, and you don't even really pay attention to the explicit content that's happening.
I feel the need to say, like, I don't have a problem with explicit content. It's just, it piled on with all the anime-ness of it is just, like, too much for me.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me either, but
Just very, very silly.
I'm sure it will bother many other people that
Yeah.
hopefully nobody that actually listens to this podcast will care. All right.
But yeah, I have a final note here, which is now there's a woman in a waterfall. I guess that makes sense.
Oh, you didn't even finish the scene.
I did finish the scene, but that's what I wrote before the scene finished. It's just like, sure, okay, I'll accept this.
Okay, the entire scene. Okay, and that so a lot of these episodes will have after credits. At least early on they do. But then they always like re-show what happened in the after credits almost every time. So you don't really have to watch the after credits. So we're gonna see this scene again in the next episode, but it's basically like a girl is under a waterfall, like having a relaxing time, and then a jukebox falls out of the sky and hits her in the head.
Yes.
Did you? Okay, I was like, did you miss that, or did you just see it in the next episode?
No, I saw it.
You didn't write that down.
Well, I was writing this note, and then the jukebox came out, and I was like, I have nothing else to write about this, okay? I won't forget that this happened. I don't need a note for it.
Well, you didn't mention it. You waited for me to mention the jukebox. Oh my god. Then they cut back to like reality, and she's like tasting some food for somebody, and then she's like really intense and criticizing it, and she describes it as like eating that felt like I was bathing in a waterfall, and then I got hit in the head with a jukebox. That was like her artistic representation of how she felt when she ate this guy's food. This is a whole new character that we haven't met before.
Yeah, which brought out so many more questions for me.
Yes.
Like, is it just Soma and his dad who have a particular cooking style that has that reaction, and other people's food cause different reactions? Or do people just react differently to food? Or what is happening?
So, in general, the people at this academy, the name of this academy that Soma's going to go to is Totsuki Academy.
Mm-hmm.
In general, like people that are making food at this academy, at least like the higher end students of the school, like they all will serve dishes that make people feel good.
Okay.
But we're going to learn about Erina, who is the girl we just saw in the after credits of episode 1. She's going to be the character that's focused on in episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to learn about her, but she is like the one person who has these like very weird interpretations of how she feels when she eats her. It's just her. It's her when she eats food, basically.
Okay. Except, no, we'll get to that.
Because we're going to get a couple weird moments, right? I think we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's like in a bath, and then there's a gorilla.
Wait, hold on. Let's pause for a second.
Okay.
Are you doing okay?
Am I doing okay?
Yes.
I mean, I will say that by this point, I had decided to take notes and like do a tally of how many times I wanted to stop watching this show.
Okay. Well, you didn't decide this until episode 2.
Part of the way through episode 1, I had been like, okay, this is a feeling that has happened before. Let me just like note down how many times I feel like this is the point I want to turn this show off.
Okay, damn. I guess that spoils the we've already spoiled it. Okay, what's your tally right now?
What's my tally right now?
You know
Well,
what
I
tally
didn't.
was? Oh, you didn't like divide it up.
I mean, except it actually does. Okay, so why don't you guess how many times over the course of 3 episodes I felt like I
Oh, all
wanted to
3
stop
episodes?
watching? All 3.
Oh, I don't know, easily double digits.
Oh, actually not. It was 9. 9 times. Basically 3 times an episode, I was like, I need to turn this off. No, wait, I said I would watch this.
Only 3 times? Oh man.
They're only 20 minutes long.
Okay, but if you get to the better content of this show, I think you might actually like it then.
I don't know. They do.
It's unfortunate that this is how the like show is marketed in the very beginning, but
Well, no, like honestly, it's the parts that are like really over dramatic for no reason, and there's a lot of shouting where I'm just like, please stop shouting so much. Like, there's no reason to behave like this.
Okay, we're gonna get into over dramatic stuff in episode 2. Do you
Yeah.
even want to keep going, Sarah?
I do want to keep going because it is kind of funny to talk about.
Okay, good. Okay, at least you're having a good time on the podcast, right?
Yes, definitely.
That's the real goal.
I don't think I'll be watching episode 4 though, because I can't because Netflix doesn't have it. Oh no.
Hulu for the next 10 days. You're good. All right. How do we open episode 2? You were going into it.
Well, she's in a like hot spring, I guess, and then there's a gorilla. Or I guess it's the waterfall first. They do the waterfall bit first, and she yells at some boys who were making some soup, and the soup wasn't good enough.
Yes.
And somebody else's soup was not good enough, but it tasted like a gorilla in a bath or something.
She was like, she says like, this dish tricks you into feeling like you're having a nice, relaxing hot spring until you realize you're taking a bath with a gorilla. This is how she describes things she eats.
And they all seem really confused, but also like in awe of her.
Yeah.
So like her descriptions don't really help them get better at cooking because they don't understand them, but they acknowledge that she's amazing.
Yes. She's a legend in the cooking world, but we don't know why yet. It's very mysterious. And really what I think they focus on in this second episode is like it's the contrast between Soma and this girl's name is Erina.
Mm-hmm.
How polar opposite they are in their like approach to cooking.
Yes.
And this is kind of like a running rivalry / point of conflict in the show is these 2 characters.
Yeah, she's very fancy and like upper class, and he's like street food diner boy, and so they clash on that front, I guess.
And not only Erina, but when Soma gets to Totsuki Academy for the first time, he's just like looking around and he just notices that like there's like kids getting out of limousines when they get to school, and like almost everybody he sees is like super high class fancy kid.
Mm-hmm. And their parents like own like really fancy restaurants or like big food businesses, and just like everything is he's way outclassed by everybody.
Yeah. And like some kid actually talks to him, but then when he mentions that he like works in a diner, the kid is like so terrible to him. Like
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Such a
doesn't
jerk.
he just like kick him in the face?
Yeah. He starts screaming at him and like like kicks him away from him, and it's just pretty much awful.
Treats him like he's a disease, basically.
Yeah. Someone just like brushes it off. He does not care.
Yeah, Soma's so cool. You can insult this guy all day and he'll just roll right over him. Yeah. Soma's awesome. It makes this show watchable. I love this guy.
But so what I don't get is we get a scene where we cut to his dad, who is apparently super famous in New York. Like he's on a call with his dad and he's like, yeah, I went to India and Italy and Spain with my friend, and now we're in New York. And I'm like, it's been an afternoon.
Yeah.
What has happened?
Dude, he's high class. He's taking jets to get like serve important people at important meals.
But yeah, he's like cooking at a restaurant, and like everybody is like freaking out because he's here, and there's a monk who's been like fasting, and he just like this is not a metaphor. He literally strips down and abandons his faith and is just like, doesn't matter, need to eat. And
yeah, that had to happen in real life because it's the idea is like he ripped up his like monk attire or whatever, because
Yes.
he's basically abandoning his faith because he needs to eat Soma's dad's food and he can't fast any longer.
But so what I got from this is that his dad is famous everywhere else except for Japan. Because like if he had been famous in Japan, that rich kid wouldn't have been like, "Oh, you just, your family has a dumb diner." He would have been like, "Oh, your dad's that guy. Awesome." So I don't know why he can't attain this fame in Japan. It's weird.
Yeah, Soma's dad is another like big point of mystery at the beginning that you get a little bit of a look into it in like halfway through season one, and then his dad becomes like a more important character later on in the series. But you didn't think it was weird that there was a monk in New York City?
Oh, is that a clue, or is he not actually in New York?
No, it wasn't a clue. It was just like, why was there? He was like, I wanted to say he was like in the Empire State Building. It was like the
Yeah,
idea, and he was on like the very top floor, and then this monk just like takes the elevator up. I guess they have what do you call like temples or whatever in New York, maybe. So maybe this monk just lives in New York. But I always thought it was weird that there was a monk in New York City.
word of mouth or Twitter told him that Soma's dad had showed up, and he's like, "Oh, need to abandon everything I've worked for to get this good food."
The idea is that Soma's dad is like a god when it comes to cooking. Essentially, is the idea. Very well respected.
Except in Japan, or at least by rich teenagers in Japan. I don't know.
The sense that you're supposed to get, I think, is that like we've seen how he doesn't really tell his son anything. And since the story is from the perspective of Soma for the most part, it's like we don't know anything about his dad because Soma doesn't know anything about his dad. From Soma's perspective, it's like he's just the number one chef at the diner that they work at. And he doesn't even know how good his dad is compared to everybody else. He just knows his dad is better than him.
But I would think if his dad was that good, like because Soma mentions the name of the diner, right? Like the name of the diner would be famous.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. The show does explain that, but it
Oh,
might
okay.
be a little longer. All right. So we're gonna cut back to Erina, and Erina has like a secretary almost, who's like a girl that's her same age. I
Yes.
believe her name is Hisako, and she's like telling her like her schedule for the day because like Erina's like so important that like she needs somebody to like keep her schedule for her basically.
Yeah, and she's like in charge of the audition for kids who are trying to transfer to this school.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was the entire transfer exam. Like she's supposed to oversee it.
Yeah.
This is another thing which I will get into at the end over like why is like basically going to be a freshman at this academy.
But she's in charge of figuring out if other freshmen will get in,
Yeah, it shows you how important she must be. Yeah.
I guess.
So she's going to oversee the transfer exam, which is what Soma is going to have to take in order to get into the school. So he's not even in the school yet. His dad just like sends him over here. And Soma doesn't even know that he has to take an exam, I don't think.
Well, he's like on the way over there. It's just like, school's dumb. Why? Like, what are they going to teach me anyway? Like, he does not seem impressed by this place.
Yeah, he imagines a cooking school as like old guys being like teaching you the basics of cooking, which like
Hmm.
he's so far beyond. But yeah, the Soma and all the other like fancy kids that are like trying to transfer to the school are gonna like go to this auditorium or whatever. And Erida's gonna be there. And her assistant Hisako starts like describing what the exam is gonna be. And then Aaron is just like, fuck that, basically. It's like it's supposed to be a long process where you get to make like 3 dishes and then there's interviews and all this other stuff. And she's like, no, don't have time for that. We're gonna make 1 dish and you'll have to use egg. And if I like it, you're in, and if I don't like it, you're out. And we've seen that she doesn't like things.
Yes. And keep in mind that half the time when she's talking, you're just getting a shot of her thighs because why not?
Is that a thing? I don't even notice anymore.
There are a lot of thigh shots.
Does Irna qualify as a bodacious babe in this show?
I think,
I think she does.
yeah. I want to say like most female characters in this show are.
I guess so, yeah. There's like a character that is like the most extreme version of this that doesn't come up till like a few episodes after what we've watched. And
Okay.
she's like, I don't know if she's supposed to be from America, but like she like has like blonde hair and she's like tan and she like wears like a bikini and like a short skirt like all the time. Like everybody's in their
Hmm.
school uniform, but like this is her uniform. And the only reason I
Okay.
say she might be from America is because she wears like a bikini with like an American flag design on it.
Tracks, yeah.
But I don't actually know if that's true. But I think that's a thing in animes that like they'll be like an overseas person either from like the United States or like I don't know like Sweden or something, and they'll
Mhm.
always be like the bustiest character in the show, I think. And I don't know if that's like a slight on like Japanese women or that's just like their interpretation of like anybody overseas is like I don't know.
Solid maybe.
I
Yeah,
don't
I don't know.
know. It is weird. It's definitely something that is not only in this
Mm.
show. So yeah, Erna's like, you will make an egg dish and I will taste it. And if I like it, you're in. If I don't like it, you're out. And not only you out, but you can never apply to come to this school ever again. I don't know why she has the authority to say this, but I think she does.
Yeah, it does not make any sense, but that's what happens. And then like all the rich boys run away.
Oh yeah, there's a stampede for the exit door. She said she gives them a chance. She says, if you don't like the conditions of this test, you may leave now and apply again later. Or like next year or whatever. And there is a stampede for the door. Every single person is running out, except for Soma, who's like, "Why is everybody running?" He's like
He
so
like
confused.
grabs on to the kid that like kicked him earlier and was
Yeah,
just like, explain.
yeah. He's like so like doesn't know anything about this school or any of the students who go here or any of the professors that teach here. He doesn't know anything about this school. So he's kind of like he's exactly like the viewer at this point where he like
Hmm.
everything is new. We have no idea.
And I think that's where we get her backstory of she's called the God tongue or something. Like her sense of taste is so refined and so good that everyone is very impressed with her.
Oh, you didn't go into the specifics of this ridiculousness of this.
Think I might have blocked some of it out.
Oh my god, were you even paying attention? You're missing like a lot of the best humor points.
I mean, I do remember she like came out of her mom's womb and then was complaining about the breast milk immediately. It was just
Yes.
like, oh, so pedestrian. It's like, okay, okay. She's very snobby about food
Yeah.
from the beginning.
Not only could she like did she have the god tongue from when she was born, but she was able to talk like
Yeah.
instantly and tell her mom that like her breast milk was tasted really bland. And basically to get this, she's like basically used from the like, point she was like a child to like taste like super high end dishes and basically decide if they're like good enough to be like in restaurants or whatever. From like the time she was like 1 years old, I think she's been like eating dishes for professionals.
So that's why she gets to be fancy at the school. Also, I think like her grandfather is in charge of the school or
We
something.
find that out later, but yeah, her grandfather is the director slash like principal, I guess.
So a little bit super magical tongue, a little bit nepotism, I guess.
Yeah, I guess is this have we gotten any? Is this like not slice of life? I guess
Yeah, this none of this feels slice of life. She's
none of
got a
it.
super
This is slice of life. It's just high school kids making food.
okay, sure. I don't think that's what I slice of life feels like it ought to be way more mundane than like any of this shit.
I guess. I mean, I guess they could have like subcategories, but I think it qualifies as that label in my mind. I think you have to start getting into like crazy like magical powers, like any show like Dragon Ball Z, where like whoever wins the fight is just like powering up to be more powerful for that fight for whatever reason that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of anime that I don't really get into.
Yeah, that's a pass from me as well.
Yeah. This is better than that, right? Come on. I
Yes.
didn't give you the
Yes.
worst anime ever. Yes,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you.
I mean, there was a little part here where I was almost back in because I think when she was saying, she was getting told what she had to do today, she was like, "Oh, I wanted to try out a new recipe." And her assistant was like, "Oh, I want to try it." And I was just like, "Ooh, lesbians brought me back in. Let's go." But then they got interrupted and nothing happened.
She like Erina mentions that she wanted to work on a new dish, and Hisako immediately has this like reaction. I was like, "Oh my god, Erina's making a new dish," and she like is like thinking about eating it, and Erina notices and is like starts getting. She starts getting very like how would you describe it? Like teasing, sexually like
Oh, yeah,
teasing
yeah,
her
yeah.
almost about like,
Yes.
"Oh, you want to try my food, do you?" And they get
Yes.
like really close, like
Mhm.
they're like teasing like they're gonna kiss, and then Soma interrupts and is like, "Oh, so I just have to make any dish with an egg in it?"
I was annoyed at Soma in that moment. I was like, wait, I found something to latch onto. Let's follow this storyline.
Yeah, I think not in so much. I guess right here they do, but I think there is like more of like bisexual vibes from a lot of the
Mm,
characters in this movie. They don't like explicitly say anything like that. Like everybody's kind of assumed to be like heterosexual or whatever, but you
yeah.
get the vibes kind of like there's more scenes that are kind of like this, I guess.
Yeah, you get the little crumbs to latch onto, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, Soma interrupts him because he's he's either so confident or so naive that he doesn't feel like he needs to run out of the room like everybody else
Yes.
does. I think at this point he's just naive.
I think also like to a certain level, like he probably doesn't care enough either. Like if he can never come back to the school again, whatever, he didn't think much of it to begin with.
Yeah, that is kind of like what helps him kind of like it doesn't happen in this episode, but like a theme going forward is that like Soma is very willing to like put his life in the school on the line. Like
Yeah.
he'll accept challenges where like if he loses, he's like forever expelled from the school and he just doesn't care.
Hmm.
But it's more that he's just like so confident about his cooking than it is that like he doesn't care about the school. Because at some point he does start to care about the school, but he's still willing to like put his like school and life on the line. um, so yeah, Erina confirms that he just has to make any dish, and then we get like a montage of Soma making something. We don't know what it's gonna be.
And they're like standing there vaguely talking about it. Like the assistant girl is like giving you nutritional information about eggs.
Yeah,
Like it
yeah,
feels
yeah, yeah.
very much like the commentary you'd get over a cooking like reality competition show or something.
Yeah, yeah. Because like Hisako like shows Erina the Soma's file, and she sees that like he works at a diner, and she has like the same reaction that a bunch of the other kids did, where she was like a diner, like some fry chef is gonna serve me a dish, and thinks that they can get into the school, and she's like immediately like kind of annoyed at Soma and skeptical, and like she is standing there like kind of trying to figure out what he's making so that she can like decide that it's terrible before she even eats it is like kind of the goal of what she's doing. Sometimes like when they're in the middle of prepping the dish, they'll like get some of the descriptors of what the dish is out of the way by like having like a lot of these chefs are just so supposed to be so good that they can just like watch people and almost smell like what's going on and be able to tell what they're doing. So yeah, someone's gonna reveal that he's making furikake rice.
Which is apparently not fancy. Just not fancy at all. That
Yeah.
baseline kind of dish, anyway.
So you never had this, right?
No, I'm not.
I think it's just like a rice bowl with scrambled eggs on it to some degree.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds not fancy. Yeah.
That's what it seemed like. I didn't look it up, but when someone makes it, at first for whatever reason, he likes to do this too, where he like makes a dish and it will look like so plain, and then he like has like this reveal.
Yes.
And he does this in the very first thing he makes on at the school, where he just puts out like a little square bowl. It's like very small portion, and it just looks like it's like scrambled egg in a bowl.
Yes.
And they like confirm that it's like, oh, this just looks like normal furikake. So I was like, okay, I guess that's what it's supposed to look like. I don't know.
But then he's like, no, it's transforming furikake or
Yeah. Well, Erina basically is just for as like a character moment. She like is like, I'm not even eating this. You fail, basically. And she's like trying to walk out, like, 'cause this is just like the most basic thing she's ever seen. And
Mhm.
then he confidently, without like, doesn't even hesitate. He's like, "Oh, you don't want to leave because this isn't any normal furikake. It's transforming furikake rice."
Yeah, he is very good at taunting people like into
Yes,
eating his
he's
food.
so good. I
It's
love
his
this guy.
move.
I love this guy. And she like turns around, and because I guess she pointed out, she like instantly notices that like there's like something underneath the egg in this bowl. Oh my god. And then he's like, and you're supposed to eat furikake rice with rice, and then he like dumps it all on a bowl of rice. And I think this is funny too. There's basically like gelatinous cubes that were like underneath the
Yeah.
egg.
And then they start to melt.
Yeah, but they're also like extra jiggly.
They are very
They
jiggly.
are very jiggly, which
The animators, had to use their jiggly skills in many, many scenes in
yes,
this show. And so they decided to use it for food too.
yeah. basically like the whatever these cubes are gonna like melt and like blend with the rice, and then Erina's kind of like getting like, wow, this is actually kind of cool, and she's like, maybe I will actually eat this. And then she's still like super snarky with him. He's like, I will take one bite and that is it. And she takes the first bite, and she doesn't have like a big reaction from the first bite,
Yeah, her clothes stay on, so it can't be that good.
but she like raises her head up a little bit, and then she like swallows it, and then she realizes that she like enjoyed it so much that she forgot to like think about how to criticize it. So she's like goes for another bite, and then Soma's like, I thought you said you only needed one bite. He's so good at like
The
taunting people.
sass from this child.
Yeah, he's so good. And then she's just like, shut up, I know what I'm doing. I'll take another bite if I want to. I love these two together are so funny.
Yeah, they are good foils for each other.
Yeah.
And so then,
Go ahead.
well, then there are these little angel versions of him that appear and like,
Well, she eats another bite.
yes, she eats
She's
another bite. Her clothes, I guess, start to come off, but like there are these little angel versions of him that like fly around and are like tearing at her clothes, or she's like trying to fight them off, but enjoying the food too much. And yeah, it's a little
I wrote down the description of this.
okay. Go for it.
Ready?
Hmm.
So, Erina in a towel in the clouds being tickled with feathers by a bunch of Cupid somas.
Yeah, yeah, that's more accurate.
Yeah, I don't know what the
It's
feathers
like
are
she
supposed to be doing.
wanted to be in her relaxing zone, like when she was talking about soup earlier, but it still transitioned over into
But I don't think the tickling with the feathers was a bad thing. Like the jukebox hitting you in the head that we saw,
right.
and the gorilla taking a bath with you was like, oh, this made this dish disgusting. Like her tongue was like too good for it.
But this was good, but she didn't want it to be
Yeah, she
good.
was like mad that she was enjoying the dish so much, basically.
Yes.
And again, this is all metaphorical. This is not a nobody's losing their
Yes.
clothes IRL right here.
But there is a little blushing and some thigh rubbing.
Yeah, I interpret this all as metaphorical, but I guess yeah, you're like parsing it into these like two times where you think they're different. I don't know. I don't overthink this too much.
It's fair. It's probably not best. It's best to not overthink this one.
I'm embarrassed to say this, but I think this is like my favorite anime. I guess I don't know what it is about this show. Like these first three episodes are not the best, but like I really get into like the characters, and they're like the show becomes like kind of rom-commy in a way where it's actually really close to the other anime I recommended to you, where like because Soma is so cool and successful with his cooking, like a lot of the girls like kind of start liking him. Like they'll hate him at first, but then they like get to know him, and then they like kind of really start liking him. But Soma like never acknowledges that like any girl is into him at all.
He only cares about the food.
Yeah, I think he's just so focused on becoming like the best chef he can possibly be that he's like he doesn't even notice like when he's being nice to somebody and they're like really appreciative of it.
Yeah.
And if he does realize you're getting to be really close with him, he's like, here, eat some squid with peanut
Yes.
butter.
Kind of a jerk,
But they don't hate him after he does that though.
which doesn't make any sense.
Well, the rest of him just makes up for it, I think.
I guess.
You wouldn't be friends with this guy in real life. He's pretty good.
I mean, I would definitely stop taking squid dishes
Oh
from him
yeah,
after
yeah,
the first time. I'd be like, I don't, no, 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 thank you.
yeah.
You'd look
That's
out for
true.
the signs of he's trying to hand you something disgusting, and then you dodge it.
Oh man. So someone's gonna like tease her again. He's like, so is it delicious or not? And what did you think was gonna happen here, Sarah?
I thought she was gonna slap him because that feels like a standard
What?
overdramatic anime move, you know, just like slap him and be like, no, you can't go to school. Goodbye.
Oh really? Okay. Well, when I first watched this, I thought she was just gonna cave like the other woman did, but she actually doesn't, and she just yells, "Disgusting!" And Soma's like, they do like the weird anime version of like shocked, where like Soma goes like white face, and he's just like, "What?" And that's like the end of the scene. So like she basically like rejects him and doesn't pass him. So Soma actually doesn't pass the transfer exam right here.
Yep.
And that's the end of the episode.
Except it's not.
Oh, well, there's the after scene, but
Yes.
yeah. We see this old man was like behind a door, and he was like watching the whole test basically. And this is the director who's like Erina's
Yeah,
grandfather.
her grandfather. And he tries the food and he likes it. And also he's super buff for an old dude. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. But yeah, then he basically like finds the paperwork or whatever that says that he failed and like changes it to passed.
Yeah. But Erina doesn't know that this happened.
Right.
It's like he's eating it after they left, basically. Okay, that's end of episode 2. We probably could have stopped here, but I actually wanted you to see Megumi, who is the third character.
This blue hair child.
Yeah. I thought you might like Megumi. Or be able to relate to Megumi in some way, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
I think she's relatable in
I
general.
have a lot of notes about how she's just losing her shit all the time.
Yeah,
She's
that's
just...
her. Yeah, she's very nervous. We're okay. Let's. Do you want to keep going, or do you just want to stop?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay. Oh man, this is gonna be our worst episode. I can already. Nobody's gonna listen to this, and if they do, they'll never listen to anything we ever make.
Why?
This is the first time where one of us is just like, nope, with whatever we talk about.
I mean, I tried very hard.
Oh darn. Yeah, I should have just like had you start watching on episode 4. It's like what I should have done.
Really?
I should just explain to you like, oh, this character is the main character. He's like a diner chef who wants to like wants to go to school and be like number 1. And then there's this girl who's got the god tongue and whatever. And then yeah, I should just like you probably would have appreciated the show more if you didn't have to see all this the most extreme versions of.
So you're telling me that episode 4 is where it gets good?
It doesn't have this. The stuff that you're. Well, I don't know. Do you want to tell? Do you remember like specifically what moments you tallied? Like, okay, I'm done with the show in the first 2 episodes.
I think like one part in the second episode was when the rich kid was just like screaming at him and being really overdramatic. It was just like, why? Why are you so loud and obnoxious?
It's supposed to be funny.
Now?
That's supposed to be comedy, though, not drama.
I know, but it's just like I don't know. It's so over the top. It's too much for me.
It's just highlighting like how out of his element Soma is supposed to be going into the school.
I like a little more subtlety.
Subtlety, okay.
Than this has to offer, I guess.
Okay. I love the pacing of the show. Like this is the slowest it gets, and then we're just like next hurdle, next hurdle, next hurdle. Like we just keep going and beating the next opponent is kind of like how this goes.
Mm.
All right, you want to go episode 3, or what do you say?
Yeah, I was just gonna like the cooking and the reactions to cooking are funny enough. Like that's fine. That's not the part I have a problem with. It's just a certain level of anime-ness that is hard for me to overcome.
Yeah, the humor of the making and eating of the food is what I latched onto, and then like by a certain point in season 1, I was like, okay, like I'm into like all these characters now as well. Like so that's how I got into the show. But all right, you ready for episode 3?
I'm ready for episode 3. It starts with this blue-haired child.
This is Megumi.
And everyone is like gathered around her at the train station, I think, and they're all like, yeah, you're gonna be great. School. Oh yeah.
I think the idea is that she is kind of from the country in Japan.
Yeah.
The countryside. And like the voice actors in the English version are like have like southern accents, basically, for her like family.
So it's like she's the best cook, but it's a small town, so she doesn't have a lot of competition for that title, really.
Yeah, so she's actually closer to Soma in the regards of like other kids like look down on her because she's like from the country, and they call her a lot in the show. They call her a country bumpkin.
Yep.
In the dub version, which is bumpkin is not supposed to be a positive term for me.
No.
I don't know exactly what it means, but yeah, it's like you're like looking down on them if you call somebody that. But we quickly find out the Totsuki Academy, I guess, has like a middle school as well. There's a middle school culinary school, and Megumi, well, almost everybody that Soma's gonna interact with going forward, since he's the only transfer student that's gonna. Well, I'm spoiling it, but he does eventually get into the school, and he's the only transfer student that gets into the school. Everybody else actually has like been in culinary school in middle school as well,
but it was less intense because it was middle school.
Yeah, I don't know how many people got flunked out, but it seemed as though Megumi was like barely did enough to qualify to get into this high school.
Yeah,
and she describes herself as like basically she is already failing going into high school. Like she basically is like one failing grade away from being expelled from the school. is how we get introduced to her.
Which is why she's freaking out all the time.
Yeah. Or because she was freaking out all the time is why she's not doing well.
It's a vicious
Maybe.
circle.
It is a vicious circle. So after we see Megumi for the first time, we're going to go to the opening ceremonies for the school year.
And there are so many boys who are swooning over the God Tongue girl.
Yeah, I actually didn't remember that part of the show at all. Like, I guess it's because she's famous. I don't know.
I mean, they're also talking about how she's hot, I think. Like
I
she's
guess
famous
so.
and hot.
I mean, in the nature of like how they animate the show, like everybody is supposed to be attractive, I feel like except for maybe a couple characters. So yeah, I didn't remember this all the boys. And it's not the boys that were like swooning over her are not like main characters. They're like side characters. Or they're not even they're like background characters.
But yeah, they're like swooning over her and like talking about how her grandfather runs the school and he's like the mafia don of the food world or whatever.
Yeah, it's a bit of just like an info dump.
Yeah.
Of these guys. Yeah. But then we're gonna get the old man from the end of last episode, and we see that he's the director, and he gives a speech that explains the school.
It's like you're all gonna fail. This is Thunderdome.
Yeah, basically. Basically, the idea, the design of the school, and this is kind of like this is actually what I tend to like about animes that I watch is like they more often than not are kind of centered around high school life, but then they have some sort of like dystopian concept in their school that makes it like interesting. It's either that or it's like a high school rom-com, which is like the other show I recommended to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, the dystopian side of the school is that like it's designed to have all of them like battle against each other so that only like the best of the best will survive, and then those people will be like ready to be like the best chefs in the world basically by the end of it. So like this school will always produce like the greatest chefs in the world. It's like the design of the school basically.
Okay, but this school is a bad school and like you could still have that and have like the people who graduate with honors or whatever are the best, chefs in the whole country and whatever. And you don't have to kick everybody else out. You can just let them finish school and they can go be like lunch ladies or something. Like you don't have to like
Yeah.
there are tiers of restaurants. We need people to cook there too, like
Yeah. And I mean, these kids are trained so well that like they can be like they can flunk out of the school and still be good chefs. Is like you don't need certification to like open a restaurant necessarily.
it just seems unnecessary. Like they could still have those kids pay their tuition fees and graduate
Yeah.
and maintain their
The school is like
super status with only the highest ranking ones getting a special seal or whatever.
yeah, I don't know if they just like keep the money after they expel people because like this school has a shit ton of money. Like
Yes.
we're gonna get into it. Oh, we actually don't really get into it, but like in the very next episode, in episode 4, like Soma is gonna like go to his dorm room and he's gonna like pass all these like buildings on the way, and one of the buildings is basically like a stadium for kitchen battles, like Iron Chef. Like it's like a football stadium size.
Of course.
And there's a bunch of like really fancy buildings for like different research and a different food, and yeah, the campus is like massive. So they don't have a problem with money when when they expel people. Yeah, you think this is like you think this is not a good way to run a school until later on in the show.
Uh-huh.
When like a more extreme person shows up and like tries to take over the school and has a whole different perspective on how they should make they should make like the best chefs in the world.
Do they murder the children? Is that what happens?
No, that would get rid of the best chefs in the world. What are you talking about?
I mean, the children that fail.
You think that's the only step down from what they've described here?
Well, I don't know. Like, I don't know what the middle step is there.
Yeah, I guess the show is from the perspective of like students who are the best of the best for the most part. So they end up like surviving the school as it is. But because of like later on in the show, someone tries to like alter how the school works, and they like come to the defense of the school and like fight for the format of the school as it is right now. So this is like
Okay.
the good version of the. This is supposed to be the. It is supposed to be like, oh, like you're not supposed to like. Is this old guy a good guy or bad guy? We don't really know, but he's kind of like presented as a bad guy to some degree, especially since he's Erina's grandfather. You think he's
Yeah.
like tied in with Erina? Yeah. All right. They will show a good amount of like random characters in the audience that are actually going to be like important side characters going forward. Did you
Mm-hmm.
notice any? Did you notice any of the characters? Did they stand out to you?
I don't think anybody stood out to
Okay.
me.
I in the intro package and like right now, I was hoping that you would have noticed the like American girl with that's like wearing a bikini
Oh, I
essentially.
did not see Bikini Girl.
Actually, I think they might not have shown her face. I think they might have just shown her like leg or something.
Oh, well, I mean, I did see a lot of legs.
Yes. And she carries around like a knife strapped to her leg.
Oh, yes, I did see
Oh,
the
you didn't
knife
see
on the
that?
leg.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, yeah. I just did not see the bikini or the blonde hair. It was
That's
just
like the
she
last
was packing.
most extreme character that is going to show up, and I would say like her like the beginning of her story arc it like ends by like episode 8, so it's like it's right in line with like a lot of these other animes that just like they go hard into the ecchi
Mm.
side of things for 8 to 10 episodes, and then they lay off as much as you can in this show.
Yeah, at a certain point, like you would just lose what the show is if you took it all away.
I love the show. All right. So yeah, he's gonna give a speech, and then we're gonna cut to Erina, who's like backstage. She's like important. She doesn't have to stand out in the field and listen to the speech.
And she's definitely not thinking about Soma at
Yeah,
all. No.
yeah. She's like literally like still angry about the exam with Soma from the previous day. And then we hear in the background that like somebody is introducing or talking on the mic, and they're like, and we have one transfer student that's coming to school this year. Well, we're going to introduce him. And Aaron is like, oh, geez, somebody actually passed through some other like instructor. But nope, it turns out that it's Soma. And when she sees Soma like go up the
So
thing, and she's
mad.
like so mad. Oh my god.
Is he supposed to give a little speech here? Because I felt like maybe not, and he just did.
Yeah, I don't know actually. I think it's customary to like if you're a new student, you usually just like say your name and maybe
Yeah.
something small about yourself. I think I've seen that before. But someone really knows how to make friends, right?
Oh my
This
gosh,
speech.
yes. Oh, this kid.
I love this guy.
It's just like talking shit straight off the bat to
He
everyone.
doesn't even think he's talking shit. He just thinks he's like saying it how it is.
Yeah. Just like he's the best, so of course, why would he not just say that?
I wrote down
Whatever.
exactly what he said, at least the important part. He says, I'm not going to lose to a bunch of wannabes that haven't stood in front of customers before. And he's like, so I'm just going to go ahead and take the top spot at this school. And he does not know how this school works yet. And neither
hmm
does the audience. But making that claim later on, you'll see like why it's like so ridiculous and why basically like everybody in the audience like hates Soma now. So he literally has like no friends.
He has no self-awareness about it either. Like I don't like it does not register with him that people don't like him because of this. It's
Yeah.
just like, whatever.
Everybody is his enemy now, basically. Oh man. So yeah, then he's gonna like walk backstage and have a confrontation with Erina, and Erina's like pissed, and then we're gonna get like the explanation that I think the old guy is just like again just like listening into their conversation outside of the
Yeah.
whatever like tent they're in.
He's kind of a creeper.
Yeah, we get like his internal monologue explaining that like oh like he let him in or whatever.
hmm
But we find out in this scene that Soma's been cooking since he was 3 years old, and I don't know if he instantly started having like battles with his dad at 3 years old, but like I think he said he like first picked up a knife at 3 years old, which is how old my son is right now. So
Is he helping cooking yet?
no, no, that'd be crazy though.
You want him chopping up some stuff?
The idea, the Soma guy's impressive, is the idea we're supposed to get out of this.
Oh, what I was getting out of that was, yep, his dad's not a good dad.
Oh, maybe that too, yeah. And then we get this line this is kind of like the running like almost like one of Soma's like biggest motivations in the show because
hmm
Erina like called his food disgusting. He's like someday I'm gonna make you say delicious. It's like what he says to her. And she's like, absolutely not, never in my life.
They're digging in real hard on
Yeah,
these opposing sides.
these two are great.
Clearly not foreshadowing at all that they're gonna like hook up later or whatever. Not at all.
I don't know if anybody hooks up in the show, Sarah.
We really
It's just like the rom-com that I had you watch. It's like like Soma is never he never cares or like is like even aware.
But there's one part, it might have been the last episode, where there's like this his dad is talking, but maybe not to him, and there's like a scene of like their family photo where you can't like see his mom's face or whatever, and he's like, you just have to learn to find a good woman or something and she'll make you a better cook or whatever. And I was like, well, that's weird to say to a 15-year-old, but also it just like then cut to scenes of her, so it just felt like it was, preparing you for, oh yes, she is what will make him a better cook because they're
Yeah,
destined to be together or whatever.
you might be right. Maybe I'm not remembering correctly. To me, I feel like it's more of just like he finds somebody that like fuels his motivation.
Hey, I'm fine for that.
For his dad, it was like, oh, he fell in love with a woman, and like that was his inspiration. But I don't know. I don't know if that's how this. I don't. I might not be remembering correct. It's definitely not like explicitly said, but maybe it's implied and it went over my head at some point. All right, we're done with Aaron and Soma. Well, we go back to Megami. And she's like, everybody like left the field at the opening ceremony, and she's just like sitting there by herself, like in a nervous wreck still. Like she didn't even realize that the ceremony was over or something.
Yeah, it's her the entire episode.
Although she did hear Soma's speech and was equally bothered by it and could see that like everybody like hated this guy, and he was like, oh, this Soma guy's gonna be a problem. So she's like, all right, I'm just gonna stay away from that Soma guy and I'm gonna do my best. And then they cut to the first class of the year, and Soma
They're
and Megami have been
partnered
paired
together.
up in class. Yeah. And Megami's just like super quiet and like can't believe what's happening, and she's like even more nervous
Freaking
than
out even
before.
more.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh my
Nervous
god.
breakdown after nervous breakdown.
Yeah. And someone's just like casually like standing at his station, and he's like super confident, and like all the other kids are just like staring at him and being like they hate this guy so much.
Hate him so much.
Oh man. And then
They have to cook something. I forget what it is.
well, we gotta talk about the master chef professor guy who comes in.
Yes.
What do you think about this guy? The teacher's gonna come in.
Everybody at this school just takes too much pride in not liking food.
And not liking food?
They're just like, oh, just only the very best. Like everything else is garbage. Like if you're not, if I like it, you get an A. Otherwise, you get I think it's an E instead of an F. But whatever, you're gonna fail.
You either fail or you get an A with this like assignment that they're gonna get for this class.
And it's like that doesn't help anyone improve. I don't know. Not a way to run a class.
Yeah, and this is one of kind of like I highlighted this in episode 1 where he was like talking about where Soma was talking about how he like made a mistake with the plating once and it helped him like discover a new dish. And this is very much like him and his dad's approach to cooking, where it's like they're not afraid to make mistakes. But then Erina and a lot of the other people at this school are like the polar opposite of that, where they're just like, we only find the best of the best by demanding the best of the best, and anything lower than the best of the best is like just like throw it away, basically.
You can't learn from your mistakes. You can't get better. You're either amazing or you're garbage.
Yeah. And this is like a highlighted character trait in Soma that comes up like throughout the show. So yeah, they get an assignment. They're either going to get an A or they're going to fail. And for Megami, this is a terrible system because if she gets one more failing grade, she's expelled from the school. Out. So we got high stakes already. Episode 3.
Yep, but they're always high stakes. I don't think he cooks in a not high stakes situation.
Sometimes they do,
maybe
but
when
mostly
he's
not.
Battling his dad.
The stakes only get higher from here.
That's true.
They can only get higher. Yeah, you were gonna talk about what they have to make. Oh, let's talk about the teacher actually. The teacher is like is French, right?
Yes.
It's Master Chef Chappelle is his name. Yes. And he has like a thick French accent in this in the dubbed version. And the students are like kind of scared of this guy too. Like not as scared as they were of like Erina. But they say that this Chef Chappelle is known as the chef that never smiles.
Right.
So he's like
Because
very
that's
serious all
something
the
to be
time.
proud of.
Yes. But considering what we've seen so far, when people eat food, that's pretty impressive that he eats food and doesn't smile.
Or I guess he just eats bad food, or his life is sad. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go with his life is sad.
Well, he works for at a culinary school with great students. He has to have eaten something good at some point.
So I guess it just means his life is very sad.
I guess just like the kids that call him the chef that never smiles just have never seen him smile because they've never
Yeah.
made anything good enough for to make him smile. Um, but what's the name of this food that he's gonna ask them to make?
Oh, I don't remember the name of it, but it is some like roast in a pot, right? Like, and it's very specifically takes a long time to get tender in the pot.
Yeah, it has a French name. It's like a boo. Blah, blah, blah. I don't even. I didn't write it
Yeah.
down. I was hoping that you did. I
No.
thought you'd be on top of it, Sarah.
No, I was
Whatever it is, it's like a bouffon or
Ooh, that
something.
sounds right. Yeah.
It's like something like that. And Megami's like looking at it, and she's like seems like she's like kind of familiar with it to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks at Soma, and Soma has like the most puzzled look on his face. And there's a bunch of lines throughout this, like whenever the chef says like a word, like a cooking term, Soma's like never heard of it before.
Because he's used to diner cooking, not
Yeah,
like
and I think the way that his dad taught him how to cook is like he didn't use fancy terms.
right.
So he like reads the recipe and he's like, "Oh, it's basically like this thing that I've made before, but I didn't know what it was called." But like Megami's like really worried, like, "Soma, you've never made this before?" And she's like, she just gets more and more nervous the
Yes.
deeper it gets into this class. So Soma is just kind of like taking it all in. He's like going around looking at the ingredients, and he's like not in a hurry at all to make the food.
She's like, we only have so much time to get it in because it needs to be in for this long to be right. And
Yeah, and Megami gets like right to work, and she's like trying to follow the recipe like step by step and make sure she doesn't mess up. She's like super nervous, and Soma's just like in the ingredients. He's like, "Hey, Megami, look at all the ingredients they have here," because he's like never been in a classroom before here, so he doesn't
like
realize like
finally a little impressed with the school.
yeah, he doesn't realize like how fancy this school is yet. So there's
Yeah.
like literally like any food and like spice you could imagine or is like in the cabinets in this one
Mm-hmm.
classroom. And I guess like every classroom is like this. So yeah, Megami's like cooking, and then Soma kind of like distracts her for a second because he's talking about all the food or whatever.
Right.
And they come back to the pot that Megami had started with the meat in it, and like the lid is off. And someone's like, "Hey, Megami, did you mean to keep the lid off?" Because I guess he was paying attention enough to know that she was doing the right thing up until now. And they like open the pot, and it turns out like somebody has like dumped like an entire thing of salt onto like the meat that was cooking in the pot.
Legit, I thought the sabotage was just that they opened the lid a bit. Like, I thought it was going to be that picky. And it was like, oh no, the steam has gotten out.
I thought that too when I first watched this, yeah. But no, they took it to the next level. They basically did what the woman in episode 1 did, where they just like spoiled all the meat by like
Mm-hmm.
just like drenching it in salt or whatever.
Yeah.
And you just see like these two kids on the side that were like glaring earlier in the class. They're just like, yes, let's see you
Very
get
pleased with
past this
themselves.
one, transfers kid. Yeah.
If they had mustaches, they'd be twirling them.
So not only is this school hard, but like people sabotage each other on top
Yeah.
of it. This is gonna be a rough ride here.
This school is full of dicks. It's just not nice.
Oh my god.
So she's freaking out. And he's just like, yeah, we'll just start over. It's fine. And she's like, there's not enough time.
Yeah, it's like whatever they're supposed to like slow cook in this pot. It's supposed to take like over an hour, I would say, something like that.
Mhm.
And they only might have like 20, 30 minutes basically
Right.
for the rest of the class. But Soma keeps a cool head. He doesn't even hesitate. He's like, "Oh, well, I guess we're going to have to start over." Basically, he has a plan at this point and he knows what he's going to do, but we don't know what it is. And this is like like the normal way that the show presents it.
And I feel like he doesn't tell her because it's not like she calms down. She's just always nervous.
I think he does. I don't know if he tells her everything, but he at least tells her like, "Hey, can you do this for me?" And she's like, "Okay." And she's like, "It's not that Megami is bad at cooking. Like everything Soma asks her to do, she does it like perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that like her nerves always get to her, and she doesn't have any confidence. So she's another like she's the polar opposite of Soma in like a different way than Erina is. So that's why I think these three characters are like the main three characters in the show in terms of we get the biggest payoff for their personalities and storylines. So yeah, the kids that like sabotage them are like doing their work or whatever, and they're like, ha ha ha, he's never gonna finish on time. I can't even believe he's trying to start over. And they're like looking at their food, and then like before they know it, Soma and Megami are like presenting their dish to Chef Chappelle before they even finish
Yeah.
their own, and they're like, what?
They're so surprised that they mess up their own food.
Yeah, at the end, that's what happened. They basically get distracted and yeah,
They get their comeuppance.
yeah. Uh, but yeah, they're gonna present the dish that they were supposed to make, but somehow they made it in like a quarter of the time or whatever it was supposed to be. And Chef Chappelle is like similarly like skeptical to like the way Erina was, but he's like very willing to eat it. Like it's his job to eat it.
Yeah,
He's
he
not.
does not have a vendetta against this
Yeah.
child yet.
Yeah, he has no problem with Soma. So yeah, he eats it and he like can't believe he can't believe how good it is.
And then we find out that secret was honey.
Yeah. So we find out that Soma used like this was like the first like super like scientific explanation that we get. Like the chemical structure of honey does something with the meat and then blah 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 blah
Makes
blah
it
blah.
tender so much sooner than
Yeah. And someone explains how he like read something one time. Like this is how fast he learns stuff. Like he read something one time about like pineapple juice does this with meat, but then like I think like pineapples and other fruits are like actually pretty expensive in Japan. So he's like his diner doesn't have pineapple, so he like experimented with a bunch of other things to figure out if anything did it the same, and he discovered at some point in his life that like honey does the same has the same effect. So that's like the secret reveal moment of this dish is like the honey.
which is important because
Oh, well, okay. Well, you're trying to get this over with.
no, go ahead, continue.
The Chef Chappelle not only passes them, but he says that if he was allowed to, he would give them a higher grade than an A. It's like better than the recipe that I told you to follow. Basically, is what happens. And then he actually is like smiling while after he eats the food, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, he made him smile."
And then for his cutaway reaction scene, this time Soma is like teeny bees.
With honey, yeah. Does Megami eat the food too? For some reason, I think she eats it, and she's part of this metaphorical scene as well. Is she not?
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure we get a scene of like Megami is like bathing in like a lake of honey or something.
Oh yeah.
And then Soma's like flying around with as like bees with like honey pots. And then Megami like swims away, but then Chef Chappelle like comes like bursting out of the honey lake. I'm pretty sure they had like a montage together. Like I guess they ate it at the same time. I don't know.
And so now, like, huzzah! He saved her grade. They're friends now, right?
Someone makes a friend, so you know what's about to happen.
He feeds her the goddamn peanut butter shrimp or squid, right?
Nope, it wasn't peanut butter this time. In addition to saving Megami's grade and making an amazing dish, he had time to make a new disgusting dish in the class, which was squid with honey.
Oh, right. It's honey squid this time.
He combines honey with the squid. And he's like, you gotta try this. Megami doesn't know not to eat it, so she eats it. And we get a very similar
yep. Exactly what happened earlier.
I want to say that this is like the last time that they do like
that he squids someone.
Yeah, I definitely could be forgetting, and it just like goes over my head at this point. But he definitely gets other people to try nasty stuff, but I don't think they like do this like metaphorical squid attacking them every time. Oh my god.
He does not know how to make friends. He spent too much time cooking.
Well, Megami's still gonna be his friend after this.
Well, that's because she's very nervous, and I think she doesn't have any other friends.
As far as I know, they're the only two people that are really like kind of like outcasts, like not considered to be prestigious chefs coming into the school. Yeah, and that's how this experience of watching the first 3 episodes.
I do have a final note that I don't remember, which is all the lesbians want to try Erina's food, and I feel like that's a side story that hopefully develops later. I don't know. I think she talks about she's making a new something, and there's just a whole lot of ladies who are like, "Oh yes, we want to try it."
Oh, was that the after
more
credits?
Of this. I think so.
Oh, it might have been like she was in her version of this first class or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
there's definitely like wherever I am in this first season, there's like a new character that's coming up who's like obsessed with Erina and actually
Mm,
like hates Hisako because she thinks like her and Hisako are like too close and they think
yeah.
that there's like a thing going on between them. So she has like a vendetta against Hisako, and that turns into like a small plot in the show. So if you want to be in it for these what would you call this, bisexual potential moments, they're definitely in
Yeah.
the show.
Okay. I still don't think I'll make it, but
Yeah.
it's good to know that it's out there, I
Man,
guess.
oh, I kind of want to like spoil an aspect of the show.
Go ahead.
I guess I'll just do it. Nobody's listening to this, right? At this point, at this point in the episodes, anybody listening to this? If you make it this
Maybe.
far in the episode, please let us know.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta like comment something at us about
Just
it.
be like, I don't know why I listened to it, but I did. And if you liked it, definitely let me know. I can bring
Yes.
something else to the table in the same vein.
Oh
This is
no.
not the most ridiculous anime out there.
I believe that 100%.
Oh my god. All right, do you mind if I tell you a little bit about other stuff that happens in season 1 of the show?
I want you to do that. Yes, please.
Okay. So right after, I think in episode 4, we stop with these like the first 3 episodes are like, here's an important character, here's another important character, and here's another important character. That's kind of like the format of the first 3 episodes.
Hmm.
But then episode 4 is like he actually gets to go to his dorm, and he actually like he has to like pass a challenge to even be allowed into the dorm. And I think this
What?
dorm is like the only on-campus dorm in like the school because everybody else can just like, take their limo home or whatever.
Oh,
But
okay.
there's a handful of kids that are part of this dorm. I think you would like the camaraderie of like all the members of this dorm. Like
Okay.
they all like instantly become friends with Soma when they find out like how good he is at cooking and that he passes the test to get into the dorm like on the first try. It took like Megami's also going to be living at this dorm. It took her like 2 months to pass it. So
She
she
was
was
just
like,
homeless for 2 months?
yeah, she was forced to like live outside.
What is this
That's
school?
what there's like a house mother or yeah, I think that's the term, the dorm mother
Hmm.
or whatever who like takes care of the house, and she administers this test.
And forbids the children from having a place to sleep.
Yeah. I think she just doesn't let you sleep in the house, but like you can still come in and eat food and and like cook or whatnot or something.
Okay.
I mean, it's still pretty bad, but it's supposed to be funny, Sarah.
Okay.
It's funny.
I just feel like maybe all of the adults in this show need to reassess their values.
It's a tough school.
Okay.
That's the idea. It's a dystopian, ridiculous school.
Okay.
So yeah, this is gonna be like Soma's like core friends. They're like all these people that live at the dorm. And they're very like cute together and they support each other and they like help each other make new dishes and stuff like that.
Okay, that's a vibe I can get behind.
Yeah, I think this show gets better. And then we're gonna learn about at some point we learn about kind of the hierarchy of how this school works, and this
Hmm.
kind of explains it more. So there's the director guy, Erina's grandfather,
Right.
who like you would think that he's like the highest point decision maker in the school,
Hmm.
but that's actually not how this school is run.
Oh.
The way this school is run is that there's a council of 10, and the 10 members on this council are students at the school.
Okay.
This is great. This is great
Hmm.
dystopian nonsense.
Do they wear ridiculous capes when they meet in a big circle?
They do have like a Knights of the Round Table kind of deal.
Okay.
Um, but basically, like they're kind of like a democratic committee, or like
Hmm.
they vote on stuff, and whatever like decisions that this council makes is like more powerful than the director's decisions.
Oh, okay.
And Erina, even though she's a freshman at the school, is like the 10th seed on
Of
the
course.
Council of 10. Yeah.
Of course.
Which is why she was like qualified to administer the transfer exam.
Okay.
And then they're gonna do this is like a stereotypical like high school like anime scene where like if it's your first year in high school, you have to like you like go to the club activities board and
Oh,
you like
okay.
you'll be like, oh, I gotta join a club because everybody's gotta be in a club. And Soma sees like an ad for like bowl club. So it's just like meals that you would put in a bowl, I guess is the idea.
Oh, so all the clubs are also cooking.
Yeah, this school is nothing but cooking. There's
Oh.
no other academics at this school that I'm aware of. So he's like, "Oh, that would be good for the restaurant." So he's like, "I'll go learn some bowl stuff." But then he goes there and there's like a guy that like is like the last, he's like the president, but he's the only member left. And
Okay.
you get this backstory, or that you get this explained, that like what Erina does and kind of like the power dynamic of the school is that like since Erina's in the Council of 10, she can like recommend to the council that like, oh, these certain clubs in the school like aren't profiting, like, because I guess each club is like supposed to make money too, because they actually
Oh,
like sell to public. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
school sounds more and more like a scam.
It's not a scam. It's just like it's for adults basically. Is what it is. But they're high school kids. But she's like, oh, this club is like not bringing in enough profits, so we should disband this club. And then she'll like go to the club president, and the club president will like challenge her to a food war to like determine whether or not the club gets destroyed. And then like she'll make like a list of demands, like, okay, if you lose though, I'm gonna knock down your club building and like make it like my seventh kitchen that I need for some reason. So there's like this whole political power dynamic to the school, and the way they decide their differences is they have these food wars, which are just Iron Chef like football stadium arenas where they like pick a theme and they both agree to like the terms and conditions of the food war, and then there has to be like an odd amount of judges, and then whoever gets like the most judges wins, and that's it basically.
Okay.
But Erina is like this god who like can control the school politically because she's on the Council of 10, and
Mm-hmm.
then she can like expand her territory within the school basically by just defeating everybody in food wars. And so we find out like Erina's next target is this bowl club
Ah,
that he's going to. And Soma just decides, he's like, "Oh, I'll do your food war for you."
this kid gives zero fucks. He's just like, sure.
Yeah, just like this stranger he just met, he's like he like basically is like offended that they don't think a bowl, like a rice bowl, is like legitimate like
Yeah,
cuisine
they're
basically.
being snobby again.
Yeah, so he takes offense to that. And then fortunately for Soma, Erina decides to delegate this cooking battle to one of her like underlings, and the underling is this girl that they nickname Meat Meat, which is the girl that wears the bikini. Her title is that she's like the meat master. And basically like her family owns like the biggest meat distributor in like Japan, and she can get access to like the best quality beef in like that you can possibly get.
Yeah.
And she basically, her strategy is basically she just like whatever the food word is, she just like out qualities people by having like better ingredients. His first food war is against this bodacious babe. And they have like a rice bowl challenge, and so that's like the next hurdle that Soma has to get through. And he puts his school life on the line on this basically, because Erina like makes the conditions that he'll get be expelled basically. That's like the first hurdle. And then like almost immediately after that, there's like this training camp that starts up for like all the first years called like the training camp of hell, which they have to go through like a ridiculous amount of like insane tests, and
Uh-huh.
like, like 66% of like the entire first year class gets expelled throughout like the course of this like training camp that they have. And then that immediately like goes into this like competition tournament called the fall selection, which is like the Council of 10 chooses like 60 people, and then they all compete in this like tournament to like basically it's basically for like the school to show off like all the kids in their first year talent, and then
Yeah.
like a bunch of like rich people in the culinary industry get to like kind of like scout them is like the idea. But there's like one winner in the end, and that's kind of, I don't think they finished the tournament, but like a big moment in the tournament is like the end of season 1. So like these first 3 episodes is just kind of like character introduction, and then it like
Yeah.
really ramps up and the show becomes like, I would say it's a good combination of like, oh, we're cooking and eating food, and like character development from here on. And then
Okay.
maybe in like, well, once like the characters have been around, like the same characters have been around for a while, and you get to like season 4, season 5, it almost exclusively just becomes about cooking and eating the show. Like there is like a bigger plot, but it's like we know the characters at this point, so we don't have to spend that much time outside of the cooking and the eating. So it gets a little ridiculous. I think actually the first time I watched this, I like might have like taken a break from watching it because it just got like kind of repetitive.
Mm.
But like the first, at least like the first 3 seasons, I was like hooked on this show because I was really into the characters. But yeah, oh, what was I gonna spoil? Oh, the big like mystery thing that happens is
Yeah.
like, I think it's like after they go through the training camp and there's like a situation. What happens is throughout the show, like Soma and Erina always end up being in these like compromised situations with each other. Like they'll run into each other like right outside like the bath house
Oh, of
or
course.
whatever, or like they'll both forget something and they'll have to take a car together like back to campus.
Do they get stuck in an elevator?
Uh, no, not an elevator, but the same
Okay.
idea. Yeah, of like
Yeah.
how like rom coms work. I guess maybe you're right. Maybe maybe I'm just forgetting how this goes in the You're right. Like it is like very stereotypical. But at some point, you like under her breath, she says like she basically like thinks everybody's cooking is like beneath her or like worse than hers, except for like she's like oh except for this one guy. But she like says it under her breath, and
Mm.
someone like doesn't hear it. And then like later, she like has this like special book, and she takes a picture of it out, and it's like her next to this guy, and the guy is Soma's dad.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So the viewer gets to see that like Erina and Soma have this like deeper connection to each other, but Soma and Erina like are totally unaware of like how close like somebody important in their life is to each other, basically. And like the build up and like the tension of that is like really good. I thought was like really good. And I don't think they don't like wait until like the end of the series because this show is like 5 seasons.
Oh,
They
geez.
don't wait until the end of the series. I think I want to say like at some point in season 2 they kind of like they reveal it to each other and it's like a big moment or something.
Okay. Interesting.
And I didn't even spoil like what the like it's Soma's dad, but even Soma doesn't really understand who his dad is.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of mystery that I didn't explain.
Now I'm vaguely worried that he's also her dad, and then things are off.
They don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
Oh man, it's good.
Okay.
It's
I'll take your word for
you're
it.
not gonna give it a
I
chance.
don't I don't think I
Damn,
have it in me.
dang it. I really like. I was just like after I successfully had you enjoy one anime, I was just like I'm gonna go like into the deep end and just see how deep I can go.
Did you think this one was gonna work?
Yeah, I thought after I rewatched the first 3 episodes, and I was like, okay, I can't make you watch more than these 3 episodes for the podcast. And like we just
Uh-huh.
talked about this for so long, so it would have been insane to keep talking. And the nature of this podcast is like we watch it from the beginning, but
Yeah.
I do think that what happens later is like something that you would enjoy the dynamic of the characters going forward, I believe. But unlucky.
I tried. I really tried to come into it with an open mind,
I
but
appreciate that.
oof, it didn't work out for me this time.
I'm not giving up though. This isn't gonna. We'll take a break from animes for a while, but I'm not giving up on this.
You
This
can
is gonna be
find
a
another
mission
one.
of the podcast to find another one.
Okay.
I kind of like want to find like an etchy that you actually like because
Okay.
I don't think the other one I sent to you would be considered etchy, right?
No, that was extremely tame. And yeah, like I said, at the end of the day, the bodacious babes were not the the reason that I don't want to keep watching this.
Yeah, it is. I am a little confused about what you don't like. Like you just don't like the dramatic moments, even though I think every dramatic moment in the show is supposed to be funny. Like it's like they're making food in a school with ridiculous rules and they're taking it really seriously and it's funny.
That part's fine, but it's like there will be specific cutaway shots where like the animation style changes sometimes and then their eyes get real big and they're just like screaming about something and it's just like it like the sound is grating to me and it's just I don't know. I can't deal with it.
Oh, okay. I don't know if that's avoidable. I think just like if you watch anime enough, it's just things that you don't even acknowledge
Like some of
anymore.
that happened in the one that I did like, but like to a lesser extent where like
Yeah.
I was fine.
I think I could definitely get something that I've watched that's like similar to what you liked. Well, you didn't even say the name of it
I
was
don't
called
remember the
like
name of it.
I'll describe it. It's like it's basically there's a guy in high school who's like
Who looks like a full-grown
he
man.
does look like he does look pretty old, but he's a manga artist and writer who actually like gets his work published even though he's still in high school. But he has like a what do they call when the author doesn't use their real name?
A pen name?
Yeah, he has like a pen name that like makes it sound like he's like a woman who writes these. He basically writes like romantic manga.
Mm-hmm.
And this girl that goes to his school has like a crush on him, and she's like trying in the very beginning she's like trying to admit to him that she has a crush on him, but he thinks that she is just a fan of her manga. Like the way she phrases it is like unclear. So he like is like, "Oh, I totally understand." And he like signs like
Gives her his
yeah,
autograph.
he gives her his autograph because he thought that's what she was asking for. And then like the rest of the show is like her like nervousness and just not being confident enough to tell him how she feels, and then but she also like gets close to him at the same time and like helps him with his
Becomes
manga.
his assistant.
Yeah, basically like becomes his assistant and like helps him do like the background coloring of his manga and stuff, and they become like really good friends, but the guy is totally clueless and has no idea.
Yep.
And a lot of the show is just his like internal like her internal dialogue of like how she's thinking at every moment, and I feel like it's like very relatable to like anybody who like had a crush on somebody in high school and just like
Yeah.
isn't adult enough to deal with their emotions yet. You get a little bit of that in Food Wars as well, as like every time someone will like defeat somebody and then the
Mhm.
person will like fall in love with them after the fact. Like they hate them and then they love them. It's like there's only the two extremes when it comes to Soma.
Well, that's a lot of how he portrays himself,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think is the reason.
yeah. It makes sense. It does. I don't think it's ridiculous.
But I found the title of the anime I liked. It was Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun.
And that one was also on Netflix.
Yes, but who knows? I haven't checked.
All right. Are you done yet? We're done with Food Wars.
I think I'm well done with Food Wars.
Oh man. Ugh. Oh man. All right. You want to talk about what we're gonna watch next time?
So I get to pick, right?
Well,
From my list of
well,
things.
well,
Well,
well. That was the plan.
uh-huh.
I have an alternate plan.
Oh, of course you do. What is this alternate plan?
Don't take this as I never want to watch something that you recommend because that's what it's gonna feel
Uh-huh.
like.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's
Can't imagine
something.
how.
Oh man. There's something that's currently being released again, similar to why we like talked about Obi-Wan.
Uh-huh.
That I thought might be good to talk about while it's hot.
And what is this?
Miss Marvel.
Oh, okay.
Have you watched Miss Marvel
I've
yet?
not watched any Miss Marvel.
Okay. As of right now, there are only 2 episodes out, and I've watched them both. And I think all we'd have to do is just watch episode 1 and talk about it. We wouldn't have to watch both. But the high level of what the show is it's a Pakistani high school girl in, I believe it's take place in Jersey City. I assume that's in New Jersey. I don't actually know though. And imagine like somebody who's like a comic book like superhero nerd, except she lives in a world where like the Avengers exist.
Okay.
So she's like, in particular, she's like very obsessed with Captain Marvel, of course.
Okay.
It's fun and it's good and I like it.
Well, now you've spoiled it.
Oh, I've spoiled it because I like it. Well, yeah, I'm not gonna recommend we watch something. You might do that one day, but I'm not. I don't think I'll ever do that.
You're not gonna peanut butter squid us with a terrible show.
No, I don't have Selma's confidence.
But maybe one day you'll work up to it, and then it'll be an extra big surprise because we weren't expecting it.
Yeah, I mean, Food Wars is like a show that would have been good to do this with, but I legitimately like it. There are some other shows that like I wouldn't say I hate them, but I don't care about them. Or I specifically like animes that would also be funny to make you watch, but I don't actually like think they're amazing or anything. It's just I know there are animes out there with like more ridiculous concepts. But it's up to you. I'll let you decide.
Do it if it's current. Let's go for it.
Okay. All right. So next time we will talk about Miss Marvel, and then after that, Sarah will pick a show maybe.
Yes.
Oh, we can also get into like because you've seen a good amount of the like mini series content from the Marvel universe as well, right? That's on Disney Plus.
Yeah. Not
Okay.
all of it, I don't think. I haven't seen Hawkeye.
Oh, that's on my list. For Hawkeye, I was thinking that's actually like weirdly a like
Christmas show.
Christmas, yeah, like a Christmas themed kind of show. I was actually thinking if we can take this to Christmas, if we keep going all the way to Christmas,
Mm-hmm. Do that one at Christmas
we
time?
could it
Okay.
would be a good Christmas time one to do. But I think we can in general, kind of like how we did with the Obi-Wan,
Mm-hmm. Talk about the other ones.
make it like a wider recommendation than just Miss Marvel.
Yeah, sounds like a good plan. I like it.
All right. So next time, Miss Marvel. Okay, Sarah, how can people contact us?
You can email us at keepwatchingpod, P-O-D, at gmail.com. You can tweet at us at keepwatchingpod, Instagram at keepwatchingpod, and on YouTube, we're at keepwatchingpod. You can leave comments below. Which would be great.
Let us know what you think, especially of this episode if you listen to it. That'd be amazing. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.